Hey guys, it's YOU WACK, and once in a while I like to make a few videos talking about which heroes needs buffs, which heroes needs nerf, and overall just ways that they can just improve Overwatch, especially in their hero cast, because I just love Overwatch so much, but that doesn't mean that there is still areas that still needs improvement. And as the title suggests for this video, I am going to be talking about heroes that definitely need a buff to most people. You know, there's always going to be people, no, in fact, everyone I think feels like every hero needs some sort of buff or needs some sort of nerf, and you can't always please everybody, but at least for me, I just try to be fair and try to be understanding and truly look at heroes that aren't seeing a lot of love in like the pick rate department just based on like their hero build, you know, how built they are as a hero and if it's really necessary in the current state of Overwatch. And that's a very important thing that I want you guys to remember is how they're built as a character in the current state of Overwatch can really determine if they're really necessary, if they're even powerful, because every hero has some sort of niche, but is that niche even necessary? And can someone else fill that niche? Or can someone else just do whatever that other hero does and even better? That's something important, and that kind of determines if that hero needs a buff. So I'm going to be talking about 3 specific heroes, not just because like I just want to talk about 3, but truly I feel like these 3 heroes need some sort of buff or especially just some reworking. You'll see which hero I mean by reworking, but make sure you watch the whole video because you might think that this hero is totally overpowered, that this hero definitely doesn't need a buff, but at different ranks and different tiers and different levels, every hero kind of plays a little bit differently, and just because they play a little bit differently at a different rank doesn't necessarily mean that it's really powerful, and you'll be surprised, especially with my very first hero. And I'm not doing this just because I'm biased towards her, but Mei deserves some sort of buff. Now, I am aware she just received one like a couple weeks ago where the slow time to her freeze was actually increased, and what this means is that when someone makes contact with her freeze gun, pretty much the time that they're slowed down is like increased. It's not just like, what was it, like 0.8 seconds or something, now it's like 1.25. Either way, it wasn't that like noticeable, it wasn't that game changing, but clearly it still was a buff, but it wasn't a buff that was just gonna make her seen as semi like meta. I'm not even trying to make her like the #1 hero or any of these heroes that I talk about. Really what I'm going for is something similar to like Soldier 76 or something like Winston, just a tiny little buff that's actually game changing, but not to the point where it's broken. A broken buff is someone like Bastion, is someone like even Junkrat to an extent. Okay, he was kind of thrown into the meta, but was still counterable. But someone like Bastion, that was just a completely broken nerf. But buffing someone like Mei, I understand that you have to be careful because there's times where Mei is totally overpowered because she's one of the only heroes that can literally stop you. Sombra kind of can do that in a sense with her hack ability, but you can still move around. Mei is the only hero that can just stop you in your tracks and put damage, and you can't do anything unless a Zarya comes and bubbles you. You know what I'm trying to say? So the buffs that I'm calling for, because I'm not just here just to talk about heroes that need a buff. No, I'm actually going to list explanations and give some examples of what they really could do to her. And the buffs that I'm thinking for Mei are pretty extravagant and might not even help her in the long run, and some are pretty simple and would definitely help her. The first one, the very simple buff that I'm just asking, is just to increase a little bit of damage to her freeze gun. What this is going to do and allow is still get one-shots on squishy heroes. A Soldier, a McCree, a Mercy, a Lucio, you know, they're already gonna die because you're just gonna freeze them and just put an icicle in their head. So what's an increased damage gonna do to that? Really nothing. But what this is gonna do is allow you to freeze more tanks and possibly get a lot more kills. But I'm not asking for the freeze ability just to do wombo combo amount of damage. No, what I'm asking for is just a slight increase, because this is gonna allow you to, well, freeze the target but allow you to focus it, because something that Roadhog and Mei really excel at is punishing people that have bad position. If like, let's say, I don't know, like a D.Va. Let's say a D.Va is on the far right all by herself and you block her off with your wall. You're going to be able to freeze that D.Va, put a little bit more damage, and then, well, since you froze them, you're going to obviously put an icicle right in front of her face, and your team is going to be able to focus them. But it's your fault for being D.Va and being all by yourself and being so prone to being punished by being in a bad position. That's what I'm really going for there. Remember that there's going to be counters and also kind of indirect counters, but are just considered counters just because Mei is just so bad at what she does. Counters like Zarya and counters like a Tracer are there just because they're not going to be able to be frozen technically, but a hero like Winston should be able to, but since he can just get away, or just because he's just so great at getting protection, he's not gonna get frozen, he's not gonna die. Now, I spent a lot of time on Mei because, well, I'm a Mei main, y'all. Can you, like, come on, y'all. Of course, I'm gonna try to vouch for a Mei buff because, well, she's also one of the least picked heroes of all time. So I think that kind of says that she's in a really bad place. But a hero who has a probably even bigger pick rate, but isn't seeing much success on the field is gonna be Ana. And this is the next hero that I'm calling for a buff. Now, you might be surprised, like, oh, Ana, you know, she's been like in an alright spot. Why does she need a buff? I'm going to be showing you this little chart. Now, this is a chart of 10,000 PC games, of competitive games that was just captured, of all the support heroes that was played. Do you see anything wrong with this chart? Clearly, like, this is a chart that shows all the support heroes that are getting value, but more specifically of the heals that are being like put out. Well, Ana's on the very bottom, right next to Zenyatta as terms of heals, but also her value is one of the least. This means that her role as the primary support healer is not being utilized either correctly or just isn't designed that well. So that could either be the player's fault or just the hero's fault, because as it stands right now, Moira is one of the best primary healers because she can just off-put so many heals because you can't really miss. And that's the biggest problem with Ana, is that she's one of the only healers that you can miss your heal opportunity. Same goes with Moira, but for the other healers, since heals are so important, you're probably going to go with those types of healers, since again, heals are just so important in Overwatch as it stands right now. If you pick Ana, more than likely, if you have like anything lower than like a 50% hit accuracy, you might as well just go with the Moira, go with the Lucio, or even a Zenyatta. Heck, a Zenyatta is beating the Moira, or is beating the Ana as terms of almost heals. So that just shows that Ana is just not in a good spot. So the buff that I'm really calling for is very simple. Just up her heals. Just pretty much every single time you shoot your sniper rifle, you're going to be able to off-put a little bit more as it stands right now. I think it's 75, so I think maybe either have it at 85 or maybe even 100. The World of Tank Meta might come back, but man, Ana is just not a good support hero as it stands right now. But want to know who is semi a good support hero, but that still needs a working? Symmetra. I know there's a lot of people that think Symmetra is overpowered. Understandable, but here is my phrase whenever it comes to Symmetra. Symmetra is only good against bad teams. Symmetra is only good against disorganized teams. It's really easy to take out a Symmetra if everybody commits to it, but nobody does. That's why you never see her in the Overwatch League, because what she's really good at isn't all that good. You know what I'm trying to say? Because a team can just easily dive her, and now the teleporter shield gen is not going to be utilized. Well, even if she does get a shield gen or a teleporter, it's not going to be utilized because you're going to be able to find it and destroy it right away. So it's just kind of a waste. But I do realize we're not the Overwatch League. We're not that top one of the top 1%. But that doesn't mean we can't still make her a little bit more balanced. So this is why I'm calling for a rework rather than just a buff, but still have like buff characteristics. Now, the main thing I want to talk about is to her secondary ability, the little balls of death. Now, I understand her primary fire is something that a lot of people are calling nerfs for, and we will get to that, but this is something where if you pick Symmetra, she's not gonna be great. Now, I understand you could be writing in the comments, oh, I always get hit by balls and I'm always getting hit by the Symmetra orbs and whatnot. More than likely, you're going into a tightly contested area where the balls can just do damage, and you're not telling the team, hey, let's not go this way so that we can't give the Symmetra charge. But also, the balls can be easily dodged, so at that point, the Symmetra isn't useful on the enemy team. What I'm really going for is so that Symmetra is fair when you're facing against her, but that when you actually have her in your team, she's actually going to be good if the player actually knows how to use her. Now, in terms of a buff for Symmetra, this is something that you have to be very careful, because again, she's seen as an overpowered hero, but she's seriously not all that powerful against a good team. So really what I'm going for here is still keeping that ball-like thing, something that you have to charge up, but instead of like a slow-moving ball, it's literally just a tight little laser that you have to charge, but still doesn't do enough damage. what this means is that now you're going to be able to still have that charge ability, but you're going to have to actually aim and get damage, and that means that, well, you're going to be able to get damage. That's pretty much it. Like, it seems pretty simple enough. It's similar like Zarya if her laser were to be able to move. That's kind of what I'm picturing. It might be seen as stupid, it might be seen as not powerful enough, but really what I'm trying to get rid of is just that slow-moving ball. It's just not good. And then the rework to her primary fire, again, like this whole entire video, there's going to be areas where people are going to get pissed off, like, nah, that's a bad idea. And now, if I were to suggest, yeah, tone down the damage to Symmetra's primary fire, that would make it so that she's seriously just not useful, because it's her primary fire. It's her main form of fire to get damage, to get kills. Sure, she's seen as a support hero. Not really, bro. She's a DPS hero. But maybe it could just reduce the hitbox of where the lasso's actually at, so that you actually have to learn to track, rather than just being able to punish these Genji. Like, you should be able to punish the Genji that just dive into you, but maybe the box to where the lock-in ability can just kind of be reduced. That's, I guess, the only thing that I can suggest that could be seen as fair, that just determined on the player's ability, the player's skill, to be able to track with Symmetra. And those are just a few buffs that I'm calling for a few of those heroes. Now, understand, Overwatch is a game that isn't always about perfect aim and tracking, but it's a game that determines whoever has the better skill is more than likely gonna win. And if that skill is put into a hero that just isn't correctly built, or just isn't built that well, that doesn't make it fair. And hopefully just me explaining and showing, especially with a hero like Mei, which could be seen as biased, especially from a video from me, but just hopefully me explaining just shows you, like, hey, this is gonna work. These buffs will just help make the hero a little bit more fair to play against, but especially to have on your team. And hopefully this video just shines light on a few of those heroes. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what hero you want to be seen buff, even if it's a hero that from a majority standpoint think is overpowered, like maybe a Genji or a Tracer. Just let me know. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch videos to come, and bye.